Karine Jean-Pierre gets called out by ABC for Orwellian doublespeak regarding the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And the fallout from the disastrous Trump raid continues. This may be the biggest political blunder in our country's history. Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee. It's August 16th, and this is The Breakdown. Now, before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you think Liz Cheney should lose her seat in Wyoming in today's election? Love to get your thoughts. Tell them to me in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel below. Click the notification bell and leave a like. That way YouTube is more likely to show this video to your Democrat friends who think the Trump raid was a great idea. All right, we're going to take a look at some major stories of the week, starting with this one. This was Karine Jean-Pierre talking to ABC's Jonathan Karl on Sunday, and he calls her out for what is clearly doublespeak on the part of the White House when it comes to whether this recently passed budget buster of a bill is going to do anything about inflation. Let's watch.
It's called the Inflation Reduction Act. But the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, said that there would be a negligible impact on inflation this year and barely impact inflation at all next year. I mean, isn't it almost Orwellian? How can you call it Inflation Reduction Act when the nonpartisan experts say it's not going to?
So I appreciate that. I appreciate the question. We've actually addressed this, the CBO. It was the top line number. There's more in there that shows that it will have the money remember how we're doing this too. It's making sure that billionaires in corporate America are paying their fair share.
Yeah, here we go with the old, we're going to get those billionaires. Boy, we're going to bust them. There aren't that many of them. You could take all of their money away, and you really haven't chipped in whatsoever to the federal deficit. I love the way that Karine Jean-Pierre starts her answer. Oh, I appreciate that question. I really do, because you know she appreciates the question. Actually, she hated the question. I don't know if it's just me, but do you ever notice that when Karine Jean-Pierre is talking and she doesn't know what she's talking about, she tends to say it with a sense of false security, false confidence. You can almost see in her that she realizes, I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But she says it as if she does. Kind of painful to watch. Speaking of painful, have you bought anything lately? I'm sure you have, and if you have, I don't have to tell you that inflation is hitting you right in the pocket. In fact, a recent survey shows that the average American is now paying $717 extra a month because of inflation. Here's the story.
Like a few items from the grocery store, I'm still racking up like $200 bills, and yet I have like two meals to make for dinner.
I noticed the prices when I was at checkout. Prices were ridiculous.
As a parent, you want to buy the 25-cent folder. You can't find them, so you have to spend $1 something on a folder. The inflation is on our items, but not in our pocket.
Well, everyday Americans certainly feeling the heat of inflation, while a new report reveals that inflation is costing the average American $717 a month.
If your paycheck has not been increased by $718 or more a month, inflation is taking away from you the ability just to stay even where you are. Doesn't help you get ahead. It just keeps you from having your nose completely underwater. I don't know why the media is not being more honest about this. Inflation is harmful. And Joe Biden can go to the cameras every week and tell us what a great job he's doing with the economy, how wonderful everything is. But there's a real disconnect between what he's saying and what you're feeling. And that last report pretty well sums it up. $717 a month that it's costing you because of inflation. That's how much every month you're getting behind. And that's why I say if your paycheck isn't going up by more than that, you're losing ground. You're losing it every single month. Fallout continues on the raid at Mar-a-Lago on Donald Trump's personal home. It is outrageous. And supposedly what the Department of Justice was looking for was classified documents. Now, we've learned more and more that a president has special powers. And one of those is that all he has to do is say, these are declassified. and they are. John Solomon, who operates a website, Just the News, recently gave us a real insight into the fact that there's probably nothing at Mar-a-Lago that remained classified because Donald Trump had a history of declassifying the documents that he wanted to look at beyond the Oval Office. Here's that report.
This is from President Trump's office. It just came in a few minutes ago. As we can all relate to, everyone ends up having to bring home their work from time to time. American presidents are no different. President Trump, in order to prepare the work the next day, often took documents, including classified documents, to the residence. He had a standing order. There's the word I've been looking for. That documents removed from the Oval Office and taken to the residence were deemed to be declassified the moment he removed them.
Now, that's really significant, as John Solomon points out, because Donald Trump had a standing order that if the documents left the Oval Office, they were deemed to be declassified. If that's the case, the documents that left the White House with Donald Trump were deemed to be declassified. And there would be no reason that the FBI would need to raid the home to get classified documents that were no longer classified. And I think a lot of us are still asking the question, if their pants were on fire to go get those documents, how come they didn't seem to have any interest in going and raiding Hillary's home when her private server, which is illegal, by the way, if you're the Secretary of State, had over 35,000 classified emails that just disappeared into the thin air, and she couldn't really explain why. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Even James Comey called her out about it, but nobody busted into her home and went searching through her wardrobe. But they did do that at Donald Trump's house and even went through Melania's wardrobe closet. I find that still odd. I've said before, I'll say again. Is the FBI now so woke that its male agents had to break in and try on some of Melania's dresses? We may never know. Recently, Tulsi Gabbard guest hosted for Tucker Carlson on Fox. Now, Tulsi is a Democrat, doesn't pretend to be anything but a Democrat. But she's always seemed to me, and she's been on my show on TBN, she's always seemed to me to be a fair-minded, objective individual who has her own convictions and views, but believes that an America that we want to live in is one that equally takes the Constitution and applies it to everyone. She makes a comment here, as she guest hosted, that I thought was extraordinarily bold. Watch.
Now, whatever your views are on Donald Trump, there's no denying that the unprecedented raid on his Palm Beach home earlier this week has set our country on a dangerous new course, and there's no turning back. The FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago changed the country that we grew up in. We grew up believing that, hey, our government will apply the law equally to all Americans, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. We're seeing more and more that that country no longer exists.
The country that we have sort of taken for granted, one that would apply the law equally. It didn't matter. Democrat, Republican, none of the above. The law was the law, and everybody would face it in the same way. That clearly is not what is happening now. I'll tell you something else that isn't happening. Joe Biden isn't giving a whole lot of answers. He's been on vacation, hanging out at the beach in South Carolina, got on Air Force One, took Hunter with him. Gosh, I hope Hunter had his laptop so he could review some of his old documents. Maybe he took some of his art supplies so he can enjoy the view of the beach and put together some of those $500,000 paintings that he's been selling to who knows who, because we don't know who the clients are. I'm sure, the cynic in me, I'm sure there would no way be even possible that Hunter would sell high-priced works of art to people who might have some kind of interest before the President of the United States, and that there would be a connection there. Perish the thought. How evil of me to even suggest such a thing. But Joe Biden's having a great vacation, and he really is on vacation. When he's riding his bike down on the sand, reporters ask him a question. He hasn't got time for that. No. He's got to buy some bathing suits. Let's watch.
President, will you come talk to us?
No. You can't make this stuff up. Would you take a few questions, Mr. President? No, I've got to buy some bathing suits. By the way, while you're in town, get an ice cream cone. You're the one person I know that never gets a brain freeze from eating ice cream too fast. I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell below. Please leave a like, share the video, and don't forget the question of the day. Do you think Liz Cheney should lose her seat in Wyoming in today's election? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments section below. And be sure to tune in to the live stream this Friday. I just might answer your most pressing and insulting questions. If you want more of my news analysis and commentary, you can sign up for my newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. It is totally free. It really is. That's going to do it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.